Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you're listening in from. This is Dee Andrews. Welcome to our Children's Reading Foundation webinar today. I will be moderating this presentation, and the topic's on the process of submitting a letter of intent for grant funding through the Children's Reading Foundation. We have Erin Tomlinson and Rick Donahoe from the National Children's Reading Foundation office on the webinar with us here today. I'll be introducing them in a few minutes. First, I want to start with some technical housekeeping items. I hope everyone can hear me. I don't know. Everyone probably has various experience with webinars. You should be able to hear me, but you are all in listen-only mode, so we cannot hear you. If you do need to communicate with us, please, you can type in a question in your question box. You can chat. I think you all have the ability to type something in your chat box, or you can raise your virtual hand. You all have a little hand next to your name some there that you can tick, and that lets me know you have a question or a problem, and I can try to troubleshoot behind the scenes if you're having trouble hearing or something like that. So communicate with us that way. There's a lot of information that Rick and Erin are covering this morning. So we ask that you please write down your questions as they come to you. And if at the end of the training something hasn't been answered, we will then have time for questions. And you'll type those into your question box, and I will pass those on to Rick and Erin to answer. So I'd like to now introduce our speakers. We have Rick Donahoe from the Children's Reading Foundation National Office. Rick is the business manager for the foundation, as well as the grant manager who handles all of our grants. He has many, many years experience in federal contracts and managing grants that aid him in his work with the Children's Reading Foundation. He's also the vice president of the Richland School District School Board and has recently completed his education administration graduate degree from Washington State University. Erin Tomlinson is the outreach coordinator for the Children's Reading Foundation. She also served as the executive director of the first Reading Foundation that began in 1996. So she brings a wealth of experience. Her start 15 years ago with the Reading Foundation and her current position as the outreach coordinator, she's focused on a lot of the grant writing and grant management. So you have two great resources today to share with you about the process of applying and submitting your letter of intent. So Rick and Erin, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, this is Rick, and this is
Erin. Good morning.
And we also have with us Salem Rebolt.
Hello.
Who's listening in. She's actually taking over Erin's job soon and transitioning into that role. So we're all in this together. We are on speakerphone on purpose. If you're having trouble hearing us, please let Dee know or send a message and we can get off speakerphone, but we'd like to all be able to talk. So that's just how we're going to try and do this. We are very pleased you are all involved with this webinar and looking forward to hopefully partnering with you. We've given you background information, and this is just to help supplement that, that data that we've supplied to you so far. We have existing people on a current grant. We're looking in the future for a new grant. We've invited 27 new people, new organizations, to be part of this as what we refer to as newbies, in a very flattering way, saying newbies, by the way. So lots of people with limited knowledge about what we were about. So that's a lot of what this webinar plans to be. And we'll just proceed. Do you have anything to say, Salem? Okay.
Keep on going.
We're going to go to the next page. So some background material, and I'm going to let Erin talk about this.
Okay. some of you are probably very familiar with the Children's Reading Foundation, but for those of you that are not, we're an organization that was established in 1996, and our real goal, a lot of the information you read on our website talks about the importance of children reading at grade level by the end of 3rd grade. But basically, the reason why the Children's Reading Foundation was established was to help school districts get to that goal. We realized in the Kennewick School District, where this organization ultimately got its roots through, that 3rd grade was just a critical area for kids. Up through 3rd grade, they're learning to read. After 3rd grade, they have to read to learn the content for what they're learning in the classroom. And that oftentimes, by the time schools get kids in the classroom in kindergarten, they are seeing such a huge disparity in terms of kids that are ready to learn to read and kids that aren't and kids that are already reading. And all of the research goes back to parents as their child's first and most influential teacher they will ever have in their lifetimes, and what is happening in the home around reading before the child ever enters the classroom. So our goal as an organization has never been to prescribe to a district or to communities what should be happening in the classroom. Our goal has always been to provide outreach and get this important message that parents need to be reading daily with their children from birth out to families in the community from as many different directions as possible, so that parents understand and can participate in doing this simple act of reading aloud with their children, so that they realize that they do nothing else. If all they do is simply read daily, they're doing the single most important thing they can do to raise a reader and send that child ready to school to learn how to read. So everything about our organization and the programs that we have developed since are really designed to support that simple act of parents reading daily with their children. And we know that if kids have been exposed to books and they have a love of books, and they've also spent time emotionally bonding with a loving, caring adult who most often is a parent, but could be a grandparent or another caregiver, they're going to school emotionally ready to learn as well. And so the part of our message about parents reading 20 minutes a day with their children is about the literacy piece, but it's also about that bonding piece. And when you sit down at the end of a busy day and you're sitting there reading with your child for 20 minutes and you are telling them there is nothing more important than you and this is our time together. And so I just want you to keep that in mind as you think about your letter of interest or your letter of intent, and as you look at how you want to tackle reaching families in your community, that our work is absolutely about preparing children to learn how to read, but it is also absolutely about creating that bond with parents. So we are going to talk about our programs a little bit during this webinar as well, and you will recognize how important that bonding component is in our programs, and hopefully in your decision as to how you implement those programs.
Okay, thank you. So next page is a little bit who we are. So Children's Reading Foundation, we often refer to as CRF. We are a national nonprofit educational organization, as Aaron said. 23 chapters across the United States, 1 in Canada. Our main program is referred to as Ready for Kindergarten. You'll hear more about that. We have 120 ready programs across the United States. So that's just who we are in a nutshell. So what are we doing? We have different groups that can provide our programs. 2 separate tracks, if you will. One, you can become a Children's Reading Foundation chapter, and Salem will help people do that. Or you can just be another organization, such as a school district. ESDs are educational service districts, which is something out west primarily. Pre-K nonprofit like Head Start. I know we have a Head Start from Atlanta on the line now, or other nonprofit educational foundations. So that's how we, if you will, affiliate with different people across the country, two different ways. Right now we are in year 2 of a current grant from the U.S. Department of Education, $2.8 million, based on early literacy. It is in fact referred to as IAL, or Innovative Approaches to Literacy, and handed out to about 40 different organizations, school districts, libraries, some national nonprofits like us. So that's going on right now. It's on the government fiscal year, so this will finish up in September 30th of the current year. We are now applying, getting ready to apply for a new similar 2-year grant from the Department of Education. 2 different grants. And we are now looking for new partners to work with us in this grant, and that's why we've been contacting you back and forth, and that's what this webinar is about. What's in it for me? This is as if you were speaking. So if I'm a new person, why would I ever want to play with those people in Kennewick, Washington? And this is literally what's in it for you. You're going to impact your community by partnering with us to provide crucial early learning skills to those who most need it, because the grant is very focused on high need, poverty, schools, communities, families. So that's what this money is set aside for from the federal government. The grant funds pay for literacy classes for parents who have children between 3 and 5-year-olds. This is the pre-kindergarten side of things. We have a summer Read Up program for book distribution during the summer from 0 to 8-year-olds. All the materials, all the training guides, all the books are provided through the grant from our office. And you all hopefully have a fact sheet we sent to you about what we're doing in the current grant and talks about those kind of things. So just in summary, that's what this is about. Why would I want this? So why would you want to be involved in this at all? Who are these people in the national office? So we have over 15 years of truly evidence-based, which means we've had an outside early learning doctor person at Washington State University, come in and do some studies on what we're doing, looking at 2 locations in Washington State, seeing if this in fact makes a difference, and it does. So that's the evidence-based side of things. It's specific to ages. And why don't you talk about what does that mean, age specific?
Well, we primarily focus our message on children in that birth to 5 category, and so the Ready for Kindergarten program is very targeted on those age levels. The Read Up Stop the Summer Slide program, and we're going to give you a lot more detail about these, is really targeting that birth to 8 because that's up through 3rd grade. And kids who are leaving school at the end of the year may be reading at grade level, or they may be behind. And what happens if they don't go all summer, or if they go all summer without reading, they can slide behind even further. And so that's why you're going to really be focusing your efforts on birth to 8 with the Summer Read Up program and that 3 to 5 year age with the Ready for Kindergarten.
Yep. And as I spoke before, the Department of Education grant is focused on high poverty, what they refer to as underserved populations. And we want to serve your community through this grant. So this is not about us. By definition, by the grant, we make 0 profit on this. We don't make anything. We're looking forward to having you come see our offices that are in a warehouse. So we're not real fancy on purpose. We're trying to get the money to you to get to the families, because it's about serving your community, your families, your kiddos. So now Salem is going to talk about the next slide a little bit.
Okay, so as Rick mentioned, there are 2 ways to partner with the National Children's Reading Foundation. 2 tracks. So the first track is to affiliate with us as a Children's Reading Foundation chapter. So there are some steps. They're pretty simple. We send them to you. It has great, easy to understand materials and step-by-step guide on how to form a chapter and be successful. We provide you, me and the other great folks in our office. Not only we're going to send you stuff, but you can call us. We're here to serve you. We can walk you through, how do I even organize myself? I have no idea where to start. And some of you are already organized. I've already talked to some of you on this call, and you already are on a great track. So we're here to support that effort if you want to become a chapter. Becoming a chapter will help you in the future sustain this message outside of funding. So if you hang up from this call and you think to yourself, well, I'm not sure that we really want to do this grant, but we really, really want to get this message out because we understand the importance of it, then please know that I will be continuing to reach out to you because this is not the only way to play is with this grant money. You can spread this message in your community and be effective without it because we certainly started out that way here in Kennewick. So the other way, so moving on to number 2, is to be a qualified org. And Rick, do you want to talk about this or you want me to finish this up?
Go ahead.
Okay, so being a qualified org means you already have a structure. I'm going to pick on Head Start. If you are a Head Start and you're already focused as an organization and you see the benefit of offering the Ready for Kindergarten program through this grant or on your own, then you don't have to become a chapter because you already are a structure with perhaps a board and perhaps influential people and enough traction to move forward. So it is not a requirement to become a chapter, but we will help you. If you have questions on which track fits for you, we will help you with that because we know what it takes to be successful.
Good. Okay. Now for a grant manager, this is really the exciting part of the whole thing. I am a compliance guy. I'm referred to as the bad cop in the office. Some of you know me. You know that's not true. So a little bit of humor there. So anyway, grant requirements overall. So the very first hurdle, which is an absolute go, no-go thing, the grant itself from the Department of Education says 25% of the students from the community must be below the federal poverty line. So lots of questions about this. What does community mean? A community can be an individual school. A very easy way to qualify this is to be in a Title I school. Title I is a federal designation because they are by definition serving kiddos and families this way. You can go to, and I can help you with this, you can go to your state Board of Education report card, which is standard by all states, and it'll show for down to each school district, down to each school, what is the free and reduced lunch percentage. That is totally appropriate to look at to qualify for this 25% line. You can go to the Census Bureau, which is very difficult to navigate through to find this, but if for serving your community, you may know your school district, you can go to your school district and ask them for that kind of information. So a community can be a town, a county, a school district. You define that, but we will have to ensure that, in fact, you meet that requirement. Head Start, by definition, and early Head Start meet this requirement. So it's just something we have to do. It's fairly easy to find and navigate through. You have to be, to be a direct recipient of the grant from the federal government, like us, you must be a nonprofit, a school, or a library. In fact, you have to be a national nonprofit. So you as an individual nonprofit organization somewhere, let's say in Washington State, you're not qualified to be the direct recipient of the grant. We are, because we're a national organization, and we can pass the money through to you. So other requirements of the grant, because we write this into the grant, is we're going to have you implement our READY program and our Read Up programs. For the director, you will have a director. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. The director must reside in the geographic location of wherever your chapter or organization is. Pretty self-explanatory. If you are a chapter, and you may or may not become a chapter, we're asking for 50% of the board to reside in your chapter footprint, your geographic footprint, and all the board members are to reside inside that state. We want you to be community focused, serving your community. We want board members to know about what's going on in your community. So this is just to make sure you understand that focus. We'll go to the next slide. So if you have your letter of intent document that we sent to you, I'm now on the bottom of page 2 that talks about directors. And this will be the primary point of contact for us to be interfacing with. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This person is going to have a lot to do. So characteristics, they should clearly understand your local community. They need to be an organized person. They're going to be submitting program status reports to me, financial reports on a monthly basis. They need to be proficient in Excel. I will tell you now, I've done engineering for 25, 35 years. I live in Excel. You don't have to live in Excel, but you need to understand Excel because all your financial reports are going to be submitted in that. So proficient means you need to understand Excel and know how to do a spreadsheet. You don't need to do pivot tables if you even care, but you need to be aware of it. You need to be responsive to our office requests because we're going to be communicating with you a lot. And this person is going to manage the Ready and the Read Up programs. So what does that mean? You're going to find locations to have Ready and Read Up. We'll talk about that more in the future. You're going to recruit facilitators, which is a word we use very carefully. We do not use the word teachers. The parents, we consider the parents of the kiddos to be the teachers. We are facilitating those parents, teaching those parents how to be the teachers. So we don't use the word teachers ourselves. You're going to get volunteers. You're going to have to prepare and maintain inventories. The directors usually do not teach the Ready classes. So we have a lot of educators that are directors who love to teach classes, and when they realize, I do all this other stuff too, that's really what a director should do. They're an organized person, manage things, find people, find events, keep track of stuff, submit reports to me, because that's what the Department of Education requires. So that's the kind of person we're looking for, and I can talk to you individually if you want to call later and talk about what about this person, and that's one reason we ask you to submit a name, because we want you to be successful and want you to just be aware of the kind of person we're looking for. Okay, sub-recipient, this is not meant to be derogatory at all. It's just a term used by the federal government. And you'll see this in some of our literature. Sub-recipients obtain their funds through a primary organization that's been awarded a grant, like Children's Reading Foundation. The National Children's Reading Foundation was awarded a grant 2 years ago. We take the money and we hand it out to sub-recipients of the funds, in fact. So the grant that we're currently under now was awarded to school districts, public libraries, and national nonprofits like that. So if, in fact, you were a partner with us and were successful getting the grant, you become a sub-recipient. There's some requirements that go along with that. Like I have to come in and audit you once a year, and you'd rather have me than the federal government auditing you. I'll just put it that way. But it's just what you're called. So it's just the nature of the education business. So I'm going to have Salem talk about this slide.
Okay, so how are we really working together? So what we do at the national office is we manage the grant funds. We look for partners, and then we help develop you so that you can provide our programs in your area. And we provide that support and the guidelines, okay? So how do we do that? Well, all this stuff can sound a little daunting, but we provide you the structure. So I just want you to exhale a little bit right now, because we will give you the examples of the spreadsheets and samples of the things that we are going to be asking of you, because it simply wouldn't be reasonable for us to do anything less, because likely you've never played a game like this before with us. And so we certainly aren't going to hide anything away or do anything less than give you what you need to be that star at reporting to us and to be that that best organization delivering the programs possible. So partners who we will, that's what you're doing, is you're submitting a letter of intent to possibly be one of our partners, and you have come to us with that interest. So what you will do, so our job is what I just mentioned. What you will do is you will do that great work in your community. You will be reimbursed through us. Again, that sub-recipient of the grant funds, we manage all that, and then it is a reimbursement grant. So you do the work, and after the fact are reimbursed. And then you provide us with info and feedback, even if it's help. I'm not sure how to do this. We are here to help you be successful.
Great. Okay, we're going to keep moving on here. So, for your general planning purposes, we are going to, the next slide will talk about READY, and we have Virginia Payne who's going to explain READY to you in a minute. But for general planning purposes, we are going to ask you as partners to serve, provide, train a minimum of 50 READY kits per session per year. So we have 3 sessions we do, or you do. We do a fall, winter, and spring. So let's say it's next fall, we've won the grant. You're going to have to do a minimum of 50 READY kits that generally equates to parents. So if you have 2 parents show up, the same, like mother and father, get 1 kit. Or just a mother shows up, they get 1 kit.
So the kit, this is Virginia, the kit represents a child served. Because you could have 2 parents, they only get 1 kit.
Yep. So the little spreadsheet here down below says, based on how many families you serve, this is how many hours per year we're going to fund you, fund the director. And this is both for, just to take care of your READY program and your summer read-up program, just so you have some estimate. We pay the director, we reimburse the director $30 an hour. You can pay the director as much as you want to. We are going to fund $30 an hour. And the director can be a shared responsibility, does not have to be one person. The last bullet, if you are a chapter, we're going to give you an additional 100 hours per year for sustainability, and we'll talk about that in the future. So not for organizations. If you're a Head Start organization, you're already set up, you're already serving things, but if you're a chapter under us, we're going to get, fund you to that level. So this is meant to be very broad. Don't be scared of it. Just get some feel about it, and we can talk more about this. So now I'm going to have Virginia talk to you about READY. Virginia is the...
I'm the National Director of READY for Kindergarten. So READY for Kindergarten is the birth to 5 piece. That's our flagship program. Helps get children ready for kindergarten. In the grant, it focuses on age levels of 3-4, and 4-5, even though we have the age levels 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and 2 to 3 as well. But for the purposes of the grant, we're focusing on that range of 3 to 5-year-olds. And again, I think Rick's already spoken to the fact that parents are the primary and most influential teacher of their children, and that's the gist of READY. Parents attend these 3 classes a year. We call them fall, winter, and spring, but we put into parentheses 1, 2, and 3 because generally those classes are held in, say, October, January, February, and then again in April or even May, as late as May, depending on when you get out of school. So that's generally when they're held, but for the purposes of this grant, because we know that you will need time to get yourselves up and running, that time frame of implementation is compacted slightly, and so it may look more like January would be your first class, and then you do the winter class in March, and then the spring class in late April or May. Parents receive our program, which is based on 26 age level targets. They receive the targets, tools, and other information. We call them tools, other information that they need in order to work with their children to meet targets in a very fun, hands-on environment.
Good. Okay, next slide.
Okay, Rita, this program is new to our organization. We piloted it this last year with our IAL grant chapters. It's been a wonderful program, a wonderful tool for communities to encourage children to stay excited about books and continue reading during the summer. And we designed this program with some wonderful resources for you as the director or the facilitator that may be managing this program. It is designed to run for 8 weeks. As we get to know you and work with you, you'll come to understand that there is a lot of flexibility within that 8-week model. We had many chapters that ran a program for 6 weeks in one site because that's what met the needs of their community, for example. And so we will work with you as you work on building this program to help you find out what makes sense for your particular community. The goal of the program, as we mentioned earlier, was to target families with children birth to 8 years old through that 3rd grade level. And if you're running an 8-week program where you are indeed targeting the same families all 8 weeks, every child gets a free brand new book each week. So the idea behind it is that you have families who may not normally have a lot of access to books, and this program is targeting at-risk communities who may come from a socioeconomic background where they don't have the discretionary income to buy books for their children, and maybe they don't even feel comfortable walking into the library and participating in a summer reading program. And so this is designed to provide those families kind of with a mini library of books by the end of the summer for each of their children. It's also designed to model to parents how to read aloud with their children. So it comes with an 8-week curriculum, basically, which are very simple lesson plans. We provide you with the book that will be read aloud each week and a lesson plan that goes along with that book, where each week you're modeling a different aspect of how to read aloud to a child. And you're teaching parents as you're doing as you're engaging in fun story time with their children, how to engage their children in that story time, and how to talk with them and play with them in a book and draw conclusions. And like I say, each week is focusing on a different particular skill. This is primarily a volunteer-based program, so you will be looking for volunteers in your community who want to come help set up these events and serve as readers. High school kids are a wonderful resource to pull on. Many high schools have community service hours. Their children are looking to meet those hours for the year. You may have senior volunteers. You may have local celebrities who want to participate, or athletes on a baseball team or something that want to come participate. The fun thing about this program is that you really get to design it the way you want to design it, and you get to look at your community and look at what makes sense. Is there a summer reading program at a local library that you can partner with? Do you have a local farmer's market where maybe you do a one-time story summer read-up event? Do you have local parks that have a free lunch program where you have access to children? What is going on in your community? You can serve the target market with this program to remind them how important it is to read in the summer and distribute those free books. This is also, for those of you that are chapters, and we move forward shortly in talking about sustainability, this is also a wonderful opportunity for you to build awareness for not just the importance of parents reading aloud with their children, but to build awareness for your organization. And that awareness is a key component of building sustainability. And we also will provide you with the marketing tools to be able to promote this program throughout the summer. It says on here the grant provides all materials, lesson plans, and all of the books. That includes the reader books in English or Spanish, or both, if you're serving both target markets, and it includes all of the books that you will be able to give away to families, and the books are English or bilingual. A few exceptions of those bilingual books are simply Spanish books.
Okay. So now we're talking about, Anna's going to talk about sustainability.
Okay. For those that are going to be coming on board through this grant as a chapter, we really want these grant funds to be an opportunity to not only roll out your new chapter and to help you fund programs that will serve this target market. We also wanted to look at this grant as a way to help you build some sustainability during this year or two of funding. So the funding ends, you have a chapter that can not only sustain itself, but has already generated key partnerships in your community through the grant funding and the running of these programs to help you remain a chapter long after the funding ends. Our goal is that when the funding ends, and we anticipate if we get it, we'll have a 2-year funding period. Our goal is that you don't just come on as a chapter while there is grant funding, that you're becoming a chapter because this is something your community wants and your community feels is important. And so as you develop your programs this first year, and even as you're looking at your letter of intent and who will you work with to be able to implement these programs in your community, it's really important that you think about who your key partners are going to be. Who can you partner with that's going to be a real message? If you engage in a partnership now, let's say you're a new chapter and you work with your local library, and you're working with the school districts to attract parents to your Ready classes, and you're working through some key organizations like Head Start or Early Head Start, United Way's, other organizations that may be serving your target market through other programs. Who can you partner with so that as you build these programs and as you develop your message in your community and begin to generate visibility, remain on as partners long after the grant ends? And so you can build in funding for awareness campaigns. You can build in funding for unique partnerships that may take some startup funding. You can build in funding to build capacity so that you can do some fundraising and some grant writing on your own. We also will be providing training throughout the year in the form of webinars to help you with all of these areas that apply to sustainability, so that you can pick and choose what you feel you may need some more direction and more training on. But this is an important area of this grant. So although we don't expect you as a new chapter to have the answers for sustainability, sustainability is tough, we do want you to have some ideas. And then our goal will be to support you with those ideas as you move forward.
Okay. So I am now on page 5 of the forms that we sent to you, and we're actually going to talk about the specifics of what we're going to ask you to fill out. So the first thing is a cover sheet. It's pretty straightforward. And again, this is not a, yes, it's an application, and yes, if you want to partner with us, you have to submit these. But you're not necessarily going to have all these answers quite yet, and we really understand that. So literally the first thing is the name of your organization. Now, if you're an organization like, I'll say, Sheltering Arms, which is a Head Start organization in Atlanta, that Susan, who's on the webinar right now, belongs to, that's clearly the name of your organization. But if you're thinking about becoming a name of a chapter, you may not have a chapter name yet. But just let us know, identify, we are a county, or we're a school, or we're something like this, just for right now. And then if we're successful, we'll have you become a formal chapter, and Salem will help you. So not meant to be hard, anything like that. So let us know if you're if you're in fact an organization, what kind of organization you are, like a school, a district, or a Head Start. Mailing address, all that's pretty straightforward. And then the name of the local community where you plan to serve, and it's not going to be necessarily obvious to us. Tell us where that is geographically so we just know what area we're looking at. And then the final one is to the area you're going to serve, the community, does it in fact meet this 25% of the students are from incomes below the federal poverty line? I've given you some ways to do that here. If you have trouble with that, get back to me and I can show you how to do that and probably figure it out. We can probably figure it out online pretty fast. So that's what the cover sheet's about. So nothing difficult about that. The next page is so-called narratives. We're limiting this to 5 pages on purpose because we don't want you to go off and write a book. This is meant to be pretty high level, simple, but you're gonna sell yourselves to us, if you will. Just so you know, there are 2 on the right now for the new people. We have a different narrative questions, similar but slightly different for chapters, potential chapters versus organizations. But otherwise, they're pretty simple. So this is how you're going to sell yourself to us, and you're going to answer some of the how and the what questions. And you may not have all these fully determined yet, but I think you'll be able to talk to us about these. So the questions, number 1, why do you want to be part of this grant? This is literally tell us why your community, your school, your locale deserves these funds. So be convincing, be passionate. You know, we want to hear your heart in this answer, if you will. Where are you going to have the classes, read up events? You may not know that yet specifically, but say we're going to have it in this locale, this general area. If you know there's a school you want to serve, then put it down. We're not going to absolutely hold you to these. We just want to know generally where you're going to have these. How are you going to recruit families of poverty? This is difficult to do. And if you've been in this business for a while, you know this is a hard thing to do. How are you going to get families to show up to classes? So we just want to know how you plan to do that. If you're in fact planning to be a charter, how are you going to sustain yourselves? Primarily, you're probably going to do most of this in year 2. For organizations, how are you going to provide additional support? Head Starts get grants from lots of different people, so we just want to hear that. And then for both of you, for organizations, charter, what partnerships are you going to have? It may be with your existing organization, maybe new people, maybe a district, maybe a library, maybe lots of things. But we want you to be integrated in your community, to have partnerships working together. That will help you all, and it will help the families and the kiddos. And any challenges and obstacles you see, this is just to help us get you more up to speed. Again, not a test or anything like that. We go to the next page. You have experience with federal state grants. If you do, explain how you do some of that budgeting, financial management. If you don't, it's fine. Experience is not required. We just want to know if you do. If you don't, it's no penalty, anything like that. But I can teach you how to be compliant. I'm good at that. So I've done it for a long time. How would you get organized to get started? What kinds of things would you do? And here, I mean, we are looking for a little bit of your organizational, you know, what do I need to do to get started? So this is to get you thinking also. And anything else about your community we should know? The next bullet talks about a CRF conference in July. We are changing this for the new people because we won't know about we thought about inviting you in July, but we just don't know if we're going to get this grant or not. So we are going to have a conference for all the participants in the new grant sometime in October and November, because we will not know until about October 1st that we have this grant. So we'll get the word out once we get ourselves more organized. But this conference will probably be 2 or 3 days. It's going to be here in Eastern Washington. We're going to tell you how to become a chapter, or if you're an organization, how you're going to be a partner with us. We will teach you specifically about how to do ready classes. As a director, then the director will go back and teach their facilitators how to do that. I'm going to teach you all about grant compliance, which is just fascinating to me and nobody else. But so you know what's going on. We're going to talk about your budgets, all that. So we've done this before. It's a great way to get trained and network with other people. And like We had people come in before and say, I'm so glad I came here. I thought no one was clueless but me, and I realized everybody's clueless, which was a lot of fun. So can you attend? So it'll be sometime in October, November. We don't know when that's going to be, but it will not be in July. You are welcome to come in July if you want to. When you come in October, November, we will pay for you. It'll be part of the funds. Pay for your travel, pay for your time and all that. So it's just a great time to get everybody together.
And you might say you do not need to build the cost of that into your budget.
That's right. Yes, we will pay for that directly from our budget. Good point.
Is it 2 people coming?
We'll decide if it's 1 or 2. We don't know if it's 1 or 2. So some of the attachments that we have, the first one is a 1-page timeline. Budget form somewhere here. The first thing is a 1-page timeline. This is literally to help you, perhaps to help us get organized on timeline for implementation and expected outcomes. So I would say take the first year, starting October 1st, and literally write about it. It does not have to be an Excel schedule or a Microsoft project schedule. To say, here's how we're going to proceed. So assume that, yes, we're going to get the grant, but you're going to get a phone call from me on about October 1st. And you're going to have to start at that point in time. So you're probably not going to have fall classes in October because you're not even going to know how to do that. So say we're going to start the chapter, we're going to start mobilizing, we're going to start finding places to have classes, we're going to identify our target populations, those kind of things. You're going to come to Eastern Washington, get really smart from that Rick Donahoe guy, and then start scheduling your classes. They're called fall, winter, and spring, but you may not have classes till January, which is perfectly timed. So you're going to have your fall, winter, and spring classes spread throughout the year. Read-up's going to come in the summer. You're going to be doing that. But show us in 1 page just generally how you're going to get organized to make that happen. Second thing is this budget request form. It's called an initial form on purpose. It's not a commitment by you, and it's not a commitment by our office. It's to help me get organized to form a whole budget, complete budget, for when we submit our proposal to the Department of Education. It has line items for different people, for the director, a facilitator. It has a thing called possible assessor. Don't worry about that right now. We do that with existing people. We might ask you in year 2, but don't even worry about that. So give me a form for year 1 only, the first year. I will assume I'll do some extrapolating for year 2. We will give you, because you will need these, 2 DVD players for the ready classes, 2 Lightbox projectors. It says 2 laptop computers. In fact, I misspelled computers. Assume we're going to give you 1 laptop computer, and you'll have one yourself. So you'll be playing DVDs and during the classes. Supplies, you're going to need stuff. Just give me an estimate. We do pay for mileage. So if you're in downtown Atlanta, and it's going to be in Atlanta, you probably won't have much mileage versus chapters that we have like now in New Mexico, where it's 50 miles between schools, and they're going to have more mileage. So storage rental facility. Why would I need a storage rental facility? Because we're going to send you a lot of stuff, boxes of stuff, pallets of stuff. So we just think it's appropriate to give you a budget to do that. So
Luckily, it's
figure out
good
about
stuff.
hours you want based on your number of ready classes, based on that planning document, how much you want from us, and then total budget. So you may say, this is going to cost whatever, but I'm going to get donations in kind from the school who's going to donate space, or I've figured out some volunteers. So just general projections on what you think you need. So it's to help me get organized, and when you submit this, again, it's like, okay, that sort of makes sense, and I'll probably be calling all of you to say, let's talk about this some more. So don't freak out about the budget thing. Director resume, if you have a director in mind, we'd like to see what kind of resume they have that meets the requirements in the LOI form itself. Then any letters of support you have from partners that sort of thing. Your call on this, but it'd be nice to, if you have those letters, it'd be nice to send them in. And just let them know, you're applying for a grant, you don't have it yet, but would your school like to play with you? Get a letter from the school. So all very positive. So in summary, to be considered to partner with us on this grant, you have to submit your letter of intent application, if you will, the cover sheet, narrative answers, and the attachments. It's not meant to be hard. It's meant to be simple. We know you're new to this. You don't know everything. It's okay, but we are looking to form new partnerships. Your submittal is not a commitment that you're going to necessarily play. You may say, I think I want to do this, but I need to learn more. If that's the case, then please submit a letter of intent. It's just that. It's literally a letter of intent to potentially partner with us. I will use your name on our proposal to the Department of Education because they want to say, where are you going to be serving kiddos? So that is going to go into the Department of Education. That will be public information. There are no guarantees we're going to be able to partner with you. So the fact you submit an application, I can't promise I'm going to choose you to be a partner. We'd like to partner with everybody. There's a finite amount of money. So what the general plan is, we're going to get these letters in here. We're going to choose partners. We're going to submit a budget. We're going to prepare a somewhat lengthy proposal to the Department of Education. That'll go in, and we won't hear probably anything until late September, October 1st. So it's it's a ways down the road. We understand that, but we're just trying to get ourselves organized now. In my discussions with the Department of Education, they strongly encourage the Children's Reading Foundation to partner with people right now so we are organized. They really want us to submit an application. That's a very good sign. If they didn't want us to play, they wouldn't tell me to be out trying to get partners now. So we're excited. We're enthusiastic. I can't tell you what percentage it's going to happen. The Department of Education does not yet have funding secured for this. Their request for proposal is all built. They're waiting to get funding. It's going through Congress right now. So we're encouraged. We're positive. We think it's going to happen, and we intend to be a big player and want to partner with you. And very, very, very clearly, we need you. So I want to be very clear about that. So you will be submitting your proposal, your letter of intent forms, if you will, to me by email at that address right there. I need them in by Friday, April 4th, which is 2 weeks from this Friday, 5 o'clock Pacific time. If you have questions between now and then, email me, call me. My phone number is, I think, on one of the pages. It should be. You have some emails from me that have my phone number in it. So I think there's one more slide. Questions. The first thing I want you to know is Salem is going to send you some information right after this webinar, and she's going to talk about that right now. A link to this recorded webinar.
Yes. We will be sending out the link to the webinar so that if you or your partners could not attend, then you'll be attending by that link, and you will also have the PowerPoint slides to walk you through anything. Also, Virginia is going to be sending you a link with a budget form for Ready that will be a supplement to you creating your budget form that you'll send with the letter of intent. It just will help you wrap your head around it because we know that we're giving you a ton of information today, and your brains are probably swelling, and you're wondering, oh my goodness, and you're probably really excited. And so it's just going to be a great, great little budget form that helps you kind of look at Ready. And so Virginia was great enough to have something already put together, so that'll be a supplement to that.
Okay, so I'm tired of talking. Dee, you want to open it up to questions then?
Yes. So ask us your questions. Type away. You all have a question box there on your computer screen where you can type in questions, and I can read those and pass those on to Rick or Aaron or Salem or Virginia. So what questions do you have from what you've heard this morning? So we have a question from Beth Oppenheimer, and I think I just deleted it, Beth. I'm so sorry. Can you type that in again? I hit the wrong little button. So Beth, if you can ask that again. As you're typing, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Megan's question. She's asking, how much space, square footage, do you recommend for storage of the supplies?
Okay, that literally is dependent on the number of families you intend to serve. But I would think you would be getting, go down to your local rental storage facility and general summary. I mean, probably some of these are like 10 by 20s. I mean, I'm guessing 10 feet by 20 feet. You're not going to fill that with books, but you're going to want a place to get to books, get to materials, maybe literally buy a table from your local hardware store, set up in there, be able to count, open boxes, count them, do an inventory. So it's going to be a little bit of a workspace for you. So just generally, that's what I do. I don't think you don't need a warehouse.
I think you worried them, Rick, when you said you were going to send them stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff.
Probably the word pallets really worried you.
Yeah, we've had people before like, oh, I'll just store it in my living room, and the truck pulls up and unloads a pallet, and like, what? So we'll have more training, but it's not going to overwhelm. I just want you to know that you should probably not plan on storing it in your living room because you're going to get more stuff. It's all free. It's good quality stuff. So.
All right, Beth's typed in her question again. She's asking, would it be possible to apply for more than one community? So I'm guessing perhaps maybe she's in a tri-county area, or there could be multiple states because of the boundaries like we have in Appalachia area. Or can you talk about more than one community being involved?
Yes, so you get to define your community. And if you're, let's say a state organization, you may be able to serve lots of people, or we have people in Appalachia, Virginia that are serving 4 different counties. That's fine. I would say based on the funding that we're expecting from the Department of Education, we're probably not going to open up to new partners, but any one of you, depending if it's a chapter or whatever, as an organization, can serve 3 different areas or 3 different counties under one organization or one chapter. Absolutely. So I kept using the word school, but it's not meant to be even schools. It can be much bigger than that. You have people that are serving many counties in some very rural areas, and that's fine.
You said earlier too, Rick, that community can be defined by each group. Community could be a single Title I school or multiple Title I schools. So it sounds like that word community can be defined by each organization.
Yes. Yes.
So instead of like where we said there was a minimum of 50 ready kits, so I'm trying to help Beth. Hi, Beth, this is Virginia. I'm trying to help you or trying to understand what your question is, and so I'm just going to try to clarify it. So where we said 50 kits, I think what you might be asking is, could you apply for 3 separate areas at 50 kits each? And it would be more like what you're doing is applying as one organization serving an area, and then you would just be applying for or asking for in your budget more kits than just 50. You might be asking for 150, let's say.
And that's totally appropriate.
And then defining which schools or which communities within your footprint that you would be serving and your partners.
Yep. So think broad. I mean, I don't expect anyone to serve a state, but don't think, oh, I can only do this in my school. But we want you to be successful with whatever you propose. So, but don't necessarily limit yourself. That makes sense.
I
Okay.
think Beth says that yes, you are correct, Virginia. So you've answered her question. Thank you.
Good.
All right, Allison is asking if the 50 kids per session threshold is an absolute. If they don't have that many families to serve, should we apply for the grant or not?
Yes, we already have one chapter in Haines, Alaska that only has one schoolroom house. So yes, if your community is, where it only has a limited number of kiddos, that's okay. You just need to talk to us about that in your application. By definition, the grant from the Federal Department of Education prefers, not limited to, but prefers rural areas. They want to be able to serve rural areas. So absolutely. If you don't have 50 families with kids that age, then just tell us in the application. We're going to work on that. So it'll be fine. Yep.
Great.
Don't want to penalize someone because they're small. That's the wrong thing to do.
All right, Carmen Cook is asking, she says, we're in the third year of implementing Ready for kindergarten, but Read Up would be new to us. Are we still eligible to apply for the grant?
Yes, you would be applying to receive Ready kits and Read Up in the grant. So Read Up would be new to you. You've already been implementing Ready, and so basically what this would do would be to give you some additional funding to help you implement Ready and or expand a Ready program that you already have.
Good.
Great.
Carmen, you're going to be one of the heroes at our conference because you're going to know some of this experience and you can train the other people. So
right.
We like experienced people.
Okay, Pamela Vargas is asking how much the average grant amounts to. On average, how much do you give?
For any one sub-recipient? I assume that's the question?
That's my
Boy, that is so varied. It really does depend upon so kind of everything is built off of the number of students being served in, so basically if we say 50 Ready kits, then everything else is kind of built off of that. Or if we say 100 Ready kits, everything else is kind of built off of that.
So let me just give you some rough numbers as examples. Let's say you're going to serve 60 families with Ready during the 3 seasons. So if I go to my little planning chart, that's about 500 hours a year. So 500 times 30 is 15,000 to pay for the director or directors. Then you don't pay for any kits, books, or materials from our office, but we would then pay for, in fact, you'll have a travel budget, you'll have the storage budget. We will also give you a small advertising budget that you don't even know about yet. So, in general, Virginia's looking at numbers here. She's adding things up.
So 35,000.
I'd say about 35,000, 30 to 35,000 on the low end if you're going to be doing a 50 to 75. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say until we get all of the numbers outlined exactly.
But that's generally, so the 500 hours a year, if you were to work 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, that's 2,080 hours. So 500 is about a quarter of, one full month, one full week a month. You can do that math. So.
And just so that they're very clear on this, all of the materials, all of the Ready materials, all of the Read Up materials, all of those things are outside of that number that we just gave you. The number we gave you is to pay for director, facilitators, storage, travel, all of the things that you would submit for reimbursement for.
Yep. In fact, the computers we're going to give you, I just need to know to budget for that, but that'll come out of the national, if you will, the national office budget.
Thank you. So Pamela, let us know if you need if we answered your question or not, but I maybe have more information than you wanted as well now too. So we have a question from Sherry. She's asking if we are a Head Start and have over 200 children and families, can we get that many kits?
You can. The question I would ask you, Sherry, is let's say you have 200 families, and we can give you 200 kits. I would hesitate to ever start you at that level, because unless you can guarantee, sort of a harsh word, you're going to get every one of the parents for every one of those kiddos to show up for the classes, then you can't. I'm sorry, you can't threaten them, but they're probably not going to show up because your classes are probably going to be in the evenings or on a Saturday. So how many parents can you realistically get there? So if you're truly brand new, we've had experience with this. We've had experience failing with this on the first year grant. So I would start small the first year, and I mean 50 is going to be a lot. And you'll figure out if you want English, Spanish, and then you got to figure out what kind of parents I'm serving. But to get 50 parents to show up for a class is difficult. So I would, if you truly have 200 kids you're serving with a Head Start program, I would recommend you start with 50. And you will be hard pressed to do 50, just based on our 2 years of experience. But we want to do this minimum of 50. If we get less than 50, unless you're a very small location, it's somewhat non-cost effective.
And I would chime in here and say, generally speaking, when you have a number that you think you're going to serve, and I can't give you a hard and fast percentage of those, but like if you're thinking in your mind, I have 200 families I want to serve, chances are pretty good that 100 of them maybe, or 150 are going to show, not the whole 200. So that's what Rick is talking about. Even though you have those 200 families, unless there is a way that you can guarantee, as you said, that they show up, then we wouldn't give you that full 200 just because that's how many children you have in your center, in your Head Start.
And again, for the first year, I mean, I'm gonna apply this is gonna be a 2-year grant. We would prefer you to start small the first year, and the second year bump you up some. And there'll be lots of things happen. We put a plan together, and things happen, and people fall out, and people get more people. So we do a lot of sending kids back and forth different places. So, but I want you to be successful the first year. We have to report to the federal government. Okay, here's your target number. Did you make it? And we can't say, well, we did, but it's too hard. No, we need to make that first year. So, is that sufficient answer?
Sherry, let us know if not, but hopefully that answered your question. We'll move on to a question here from Susan Culpepper. She's wondering if her class of 50 could be divided among 2 to 3 different sites.
Yes, absolutely yes.
Generally it is.
Yep.
Great. Sherry and Susan both say thank you for those answers. Carmen as well, she said thanks, she's having fun with the Ready program.
Carmen's a rock star.
Any other questions or comments from anyone? You're always free to call or email anyone there at the national office with further follow-up questions. And
yes.
Again, you'll be getting the links from Salem to watch this again or share this with other partners who might be interested in learning about it.
And I'd like to give a tip for those. When you receive the link to the webinar, you will click on it, and there'll be an option for you to download it. That is how you're going to be able to view the entire links of the webinar. If you just click on the link, some people found in the last webinar we had that they could only see about maybe 15 minutes worth of it. So do look for that download. I know for me that download was in existence. I was able to play the whole thing, but look for that. But don't feel shy to reach out if you need a little bit of technical assistance. We're happy to give that as well.
Good. So DM, if I can just summarize real fast, we are very excited. We've talked with most of you, emailed at least. We are really excited that you all are showing interest to do this. You are the ones who are going to make this happen. You're going to serve the kiddos, the families that need to be served. We absolutely need you to make this be successful. So in this office here, we don't get a chance to go out and teach classes specifically. We're the infrastructure behind all this. We have the material. We're going to give it to you. We want to play in your sandbox, but it is your sandbox, if you will. It's your community that we want to serve. So we are really enthusiastic in begging you to please submit applications to us. We want to be partners with you.
Yes, please feel free again to email or call us, and we work very closely. We're all in the same office, and so really, you know, any question you have, even if you think it's not very important, you have a question, email us.
And potential chapter people, just know that we really want to play with you and help you be successful. So even though the timeline is going to be October 1st that you're going to be submitting with a letter of intent, some of you on this webinar are already chapters and need some help in your development. So don't hesitate to reach out to us in that regard.
Okay, so that's all we have here.
That seems to be all the questions on this end as well. Thank you, everyone, for your time today and your patience in listening and the wonderful information.
Thank you, Dee.
All right, goodbye.
Bye-bye.